post-work beer. Am I allowed to drink it?
Yeah.
Yeah, crack it open. Let's do it.
Okay.
That's why we get on these things.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to week one, the inaugural OG episode of Around the Hub. My name is Rick Dunn, and every week we will be live at 9 o'clock on Tuesdays, Eastern Time. At least that's the plan for right now. Leading a roundtable style discussion, highlighting the very small, very niche world of the FedEx Linehaul contractor. And really the unique successes, the unique opportunities, the unique challenges that this community that we face. The idea is to create an environment where business owners, both experienced and new, can interact, share best practices with each other. Potential new contractors, looking for information, looking to join us in this space. The multitude of vendors that are assisting in really everything. The drivers, the AOs, the BCs, FedEx employees potentially, to create an environment where the information can be shared freely, transparently, honestly, and most important, in my opinion, fact-checked by the rest of the community. Why in the world does the Linehaul community need an hour a week to share alpha, talk about the state of the industry? For one, I just got this new camera, so how could we not take advantage of this opportunity? But two, there's a demand and there's a need for it. Last fall, we did a boot camp for new contractors. Every Monday, we have several brand new, just put in their BD30, going through that process. Took those contractors through an 8-week course designed to really prepare them to become a contractor, so that when that week one came, it wasn't they're starting. It wasn't that deer in headlights. It wasn't this unfamiliar operation of their business, which could be doing thousands, tens of thousands of dollars a week. They were better prepared. In that boot camp, it went very well. What started out as 10 to 12 of us turned into a much larger gathering by the end, and very exciting, very unorganized at times conversations. But I believe everybody who came through that process with us was significantly more prepared to run their new Linehaul business. And even if they didn't know all the little nuances that exist, they were certainly prepared. Nothing was new, and they knew where to go for information. Very different scenario than this world that I came into in 2013, 14. So Around the Hub is a love child between the boot camp, my new camera and lighting system, and really a desire to share these conversations with the Linehaul community and a larger audience. This is interactive. In the weeks to come, we'll be touching on a range of topics, all very relevant to not just new contractors, but all contractors, everybody. We will have on a plethora of very successful business owners, vendors that have made this space more profitable and easier to excel in. And the hope is to provide lots of insightful conversation that allows you to run a more profitable business. So again, welcome to Around the Hub. Be excited. And with all that, I would like to welcome my very first guests slash co-host of Around the Hub. You have probably seen him in one or two of our videos. Full disclosure, he is my kid's godfather. For any ladies out there, he's single. And most importantly, he is no longer unemployed because Christian will be starting his very new line haul business very soon, we hope. Christian, what up?
Dude, I'm excited. I'm doing well. Thanks for telling everyone I'm unemployed finally.
Listen, who decided to do this at 9 o'clock at night?
Hey man, you forgot to mention official ankle breaker of yours on the basketball court. That's how we bonded 15 years ago.
There's no proof.
On record.
Doesn't exist. Does
now.
So what up, man? Welcome. You've been around, the Linehaul Solutions, FedEx for a bit now, right? And you finally decided to become a contractor yourself. I'm very excited for you. I'm looking forward to very big things. But why FedEx Linehaul? Like, what in the world brought you here?
Yeah, man. So, obviously I've known you for, well over a decade, and you've been involved for a decade. So it was always kind of in my year, FedEx has been, and I've seen how well it's treated you. So I've always been interested. And I've spent the past decade building a beverage company, and I've always been looking for my own thing to start. And so when I decided to step away from that, I kind of was like, hey, where do I want to put my time, my focus? And then I went with you to Vegas, met a bunch of contractors.
Good time.
Yeah, we had a good time. But, met a bunch of contractors, knew you, and just became more and more comfortable with wanting to start my first kind of my own thing in FedEx. And I'll say this, every line haul FedEx contractor I met that was focusing on recruiting and just paid very much attention to their business was very happy. I'm like, that makes sense for me.
Very true. Yeah, Vegas was a great time. We went, Root Consultants put on a fantastic event, and it was fun. And so your background, right? A little more specifics, like what was your expertise in?
Yeah, so I joined a beverage company based out of New York. This was, they were sub 100K in revenue at the time. And I kind of just started to see, because I was interested in a startup. And then we pretty quickly grew. So we were looking to hire and looking to place people in positions, and I headed up the finance and operations side of it. So I spent about a decade building it out, and we built it to being a nationally distributed brand. So, stores like Whole Foods, Target, Walmart, Costco, Sprouts, are in all those, or were at all those. And, for me, it just kind of came to a point where I was like, all right, let me try to find something for myself to do. And that's when I took the last year.
Okay. So we see a lot of contractors, they get excited, they run through the numbers. They're like, man, this is for me. But what made you finally take that leap? Like, oh my God, it's time to start spending money and brain power on this business.
It was kind of a fortunate situation, and quite frankly, it's because I know you that I got into a good situation.
Nepotism.
Yeah, I just have to kind of call it what it is. But it goes a long way when you know someone, you have someone in your corner. And I've seen your success. I've met a bunch of people, especially in Vegas, and since then, and it just made me go, hey, let's do this. Let's get started. This makes sense. I'll say this: the biggest difference for me is FedEx. It's kind of, you have an assigned run or unassigned run, whichever one. Assigned, obviously, guaranteed. But FedEx will kind of hold up their end of the bargain. So you're not doing things like chasing AR and not chasing like a bunch of big chargebacks, which is completely different in the in the world of beverage.
Yes, that every Friday, that deposit showing up, very convenient, especially compared to, our friends in the regular trucking industry chasing down 30, 60-day, 90 AR. It gets rough, obviously, it's in a very cash flow specific business. So tell us about your business. What in the hell are you buying?
Yeah. So I'm starting out with 3 dedicated PM solo runs out of Pittsburgh. I'm very excited about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to kind of add on, what we were saying before. It's, we built the beverage company into a multi-million-dollar company, and it's always really tough to find like how you're going to scale something. But it became very clear, speaking to everyone and speaking to like you, how you can scale on FedEx, right? You can get growth opportunities, get buy team runs, solo runs. Like there's a very clear path on how to grow. It just makes sense.
For sure. And I think obviously, we've done that, Darius and I, over the years. In large part, that's why in the world I'm on the screen right now, pretending like I know something about this place. And so that is for sure. So I know I'm certainly excited about watching you, and with that, I've helped many people over the years now prepare for that limb meeting, that first interaction with the manager. And you go through the contract, you go through tips, and everybody has a different way of kind of preparing for it. And then there's your way. So Christian had a novel of notes written out, spread out all over my basement, prepping for this. And I'm like, what in the hell? He knows more than I do about FedEx at this point. So
Yeah.
walk me through that prep process for that meeting.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me mess up your basement for a good, it was actually probably closer to a week. No, the reality is like, you want to be prepared, obviously. And when I knew I wanted to kind of take the path, I would just ask everyone and anyone I knew what their limb meeting was like. And I just start jotting down questions. What is this? What is this? What is this? And just bugged you for a good month or so of just how do you answer this? How do you go about it? And it's one thing to pass the limb meeting, or, I say pass, but like it is kind of like an interview to get in there. But really it was, just kind of getting a better understanding of what I'm going to be doing and how to do it right. Like it's the first step.
And with that prep, I mean, do you feel like you're going to be more of a competent Linehaul contractor and better prepared to actually run that business?
Oh, for sure. Without a doubt. I think the biggest thing, and this resonates to anybody who's like built a business or work really doing anything, having someone in your corner just makes the process much easier. The simplest of questions can nag you for a week, but just simply going like, hey, what is, we had a question just come up today, which was registering a title. It's like me texting you was like quick answer. And it made it easy, or else I was probably been just searching for hours trying to call the DMV or something. It made it easy.
I came on, and I had the luxury of, we didn't have much in terms of support. We had a good relationship with the terminal, but luckily Darius and I, we had each other, and it was a lot of just trial and error in a large part. And we could fill a book up, and maybe we will one day with all the mistakes that we made. But to be able to have somebody to bounce ideas off with, to kind of just release the stress, to freak out on somebody when you need to, I wouldn't wish somebody entering the space just going solo. It would be impossible for me to do it. I wouldn't have been able to succeed if I didn't have a partner that could keep up with me and let me, just take the pressures of my day off of me. So I think anybody coming in, one thing I'd advise is just find that support system, find other people. And luckily we have a ton of contractors right now that are willing to share their knowledge, their experience, and just give honest information. And that's unique. Since I've been in, this is a new thing. This is a new thing we're seeing. And this show, We're on the Hub, is just designed to continue. It's the next step in that communication process. You there?
Question.
All right. You
what
were
would you call your book?
Oh my God. I don't want to answer that too quickly because I think it's an important question, but I promise I'll answer that question before the show ends. All right. So you there? I don't know if you're freezing or not. Maybe it's just your face.
Are you asking me?
No, I'm telling you that I'm going to get back to you by the end of the show. Oh,
cool.
All right.
I'm here for the whole show.
Listen, thank you for being here. I love you. And I'm happy that you are making this journey. So with all that, we would like to bring on our next two guests, a couple more softballs for us since it's week 1 and this was supposed to be a dress rehearsal that we decided to go live on. So obviously we stacked the deck with people that were going to say really kind things about us. Let's bring on John and Darius.
Hey,
what's going
What
on?
up?
What's
going
on,
y'all?
Are you both wearing t-shirts?
Did you guys plan this?
This was a classy affair.
Brown t-shirts?
Yeah, I sent him that yesterday, so we could wear the
Good.
same thing.
Classy.
It's a thermal.
So it's legit.
You're right. It gives you extra points.
It has texture.
Oh. Did you see you casually flex the?
Oh my God, we got a time. We're sticking to time. We're sticking to time. Everybody stay focused. All right, gentlemen. Hello. Thank you for joining us this evening. Darius. So I think a lot of people know who you are. They've seen our videos. You've been my business partner since 2013, 14. Story. We tell it on YouTube. We're not going to rehash it right now. But to get you on this first episode talking about, so you want to be a line haul contractor and that kind of entry into the business, you've seen a lot that's happening now and you can tie it back into we came in. Tell me how FedEx has changed since we came in almost a lifetime ago.
It's so similar, yet different. I'm not as involved with it as you are on a day-to-day basis. We're running our other stuff. But when I hear it, some of the terminology is still the same. There's some new terminology. And I think we've talked about this before. Like it's just different, man. There's so much help. There's so many assets. There's so much information. And I'm like a hater. Like we didn't have any of that help, if you will. We just kind of figured it out and stumbled through it and ran through brick walls. And it's just different. A lot of information. What you're doing is great for new people to figure out what they need to do. Lin meetings. I mean, there was no Lin meeting when we started. It was like, hey, you want some runs? I think you were one of the first ones who were like actually. I don't know if everybody's experience, but in my experience, you were like, hey, even how we got our runs. How we got the runs. You went and met like a regional manager. And now that's kind of like commonplace, but you were like one of the first people. Like, I'm going to meet him. I'm going to go, suck up a little bit. I try to use some
clean it up,
suck up a little bit to this manager. So yeah, it's good. But now I think things are a lot more rigid, a lot more formalized. Either you're doing X to get Y, or you're not going to get Y. That's what I see from now these days.
The structure, and for sure, I remember those Wild West, those old days of like, just make it run, just make it happen. And obviously now, what are our conversations? SRS scores, and like it's a very different perception I think we have, and that's direct from Big Brother. What does FedEx want? What do they need? And it's a much different world. Let me ask you this. Obviously, in our business, I've strayed more towards the FedEx side of our business. But is FedEx Linehaul still a place for you that you'd want to invest your time, your money, your brain power in 2023?
Yeah, I mean, like even when we have some of our nastiest, moments, we've always still kind of, when it comes down to it, I'm like, what I always say, I'm never going to stand in the way of a good deal. and every deal that was good, we got. You know, every run that was to be had for us, we got. So yeah, if you came to me today and said, "Hey, we need to fly to Denver or Pittsburgh or wherever else we've been looking down stuff," I would absolutely go again. You know, because I've reaped the rewards and got the.
Somebody went cheap on their Wi-Fi. You reap the rewards, and
I would do it again.
all right,
Okay.
cool. Well, in that case, let me line up some deals. All right, who's selling? Email me.
Can I ask you, Darius, and for you too, Rick, like when you guys started, how did you think about growth? And would you do it the same way? Did you just go all in, buy a bunch of routes? How did
I would not do it the same way. 2016, 17, it was just take whatever you could get. It was taking runs all over the place. We were sloppy as hell. We had way too many runs. We were running single, team runs out of multiple states. And it just got too hard and too complicated to keep track of. Try to recruit so many different markets just for one run. It made absolutely no sense, but got a little taste of, hey, you know what? If you get a run and you upgrade it and you package it with something else and then you can sell it. And, we were selling these runs for more money than we ever imagined when we first stumbled into this business. And if I had to do it again, I would certainly consolidate regions and look at larger plots of businesses and grow that space out before just trying to do too much. And I know Darius and I, almost killed each other multiple times because of that.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't do it from like negativity. What do they say? Like, nobody gets married to get divorced. You know what I mean? So nobody starts a business to fail. So all the businesses and the areas that we were looking at, they made sense at the time. I think would I do it again? Have 30 plus addendum runs in 8 different locations? Probably yes, but I would cut the cord a little sooner when we found out they weren't working. I think that was us. We really tried to make something work that ultimately didn't work, and we spent a lot of money, time, and energy and trucks for a year and change and plus, and the results were the same as if we didn't do it at all.
So can I ask, would a fair kind of summary of that be like, if you're going into it, go deep or just concentrate on making sure you know what numbers you're getting versus just expanding and going wide too fast?
I think now there's too much information and everybody's an expert. I hear some of these conversations and still, with all the information out there, people, they're coining new phrases. Before it was dedicated, unassigned, and spare. Now it's, I heard someone on the phone with Rick in the car. They said it's spare, but it runs like dedicated or something like that. I'm just like, you don't know shit, man, listen, we sold the spare run. We've done it before. But at that time, that was very relationship based with the manager and the buyer and everything else. And that guy ran that run with that driver and that truck for almost 2 years. I don't think that would happen today.
And it turned into an unassigned very quickly after.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And not to get too technical, but there's a whole engineering process on what's unassigned versus, when does that become spare versus unassigned. And, the nerds up in FedEx can probably tell you better than us and, what it takes to become an unassigned run, package volume and stuff like that. So
let me ask you this. Thinking about as an entrepreneur, right? This journey we've taken, what do you think is yours or even ours, but your biggest mistake over the years as a business owner? And maybe like how you would have handled it differently? Anything come to mind?
Just what we said, holding on to those losers longer than we needed to. I mean, I can still think about, I don't want to say any names, but a manager in Ohio. I know his name. I remember it. But we got the runs. We had supposed to have 3 or 4 for free, and we ended up with like 2. And I think you might have won out there. And the only reason we didn't push those runs and run them was because of his attitude. He's a dickhead. Now, there were other locations that there were the same runs. They wouldn't run well, and we still tried them because the managers were charming. So I think, that type of stuff is what kind of got us in trouble, growing, really big, really fast. And when I say really fast, it was still in the years, in FedEx years, it was really fast. But I mean, it was still 2 or 3 years before we got, it was like 3 trucks and 2 runs, 5 trucks and 4 runs, 10 runs, 17 and like 30. I don't even know about the 30.
My answer would be similar, and I'm thinking about it as you were talking. It was the holding on to relationships for too long, and a lot of that is employee related. We've had phenomenal employees that have worked for us. We've gotten so lucky. Our first ever hire still works for us now, and he's family. Driver who turned into a master mechanic. And we've had great, but then we've had people that we were trying to pound, that round peg into a square hole, and they just weren't the right people for the runs or for our business. And we just tried to make it work for so long. I think now the older, wiser version of me is just, this business, your runs aren't for everybody. There are certain CDL drivers that don't belong on your runs. And that's okay, because somebody has a run that does work for them. You have to work on finding drivers that are right for your business at that time, because a CDL driver, just because they're really good for you right now, doesn't mean their situation in life can't change and they no longer become an effective employee for your business. And it's about knowing and having that open line of communication and measuring results and having data that you can attribute to really making proper decisions on how you want to run your business with drivers, with admins, with really anybody. So looking back on it, I think that's the one thing that I think we probably could have been a little better serviced if we maybe would have ended some relationships quicker than we had. As my earpods just did something. So we're neglecting John. Sorry, buddy.
It's all right. I was just over here eating a Chipotle burrito.
Oh, what'd you get? The sofritas?
No, I like those carnitas.
A story of Dr. Pepper.
Chipotle has not sponsored the show, but they are certainly welcome to. So we take it from, one of my kids' godfathers to my other kid's godfather. Softballs all around tonight. Mm-hmm. John, you have a very interesting FedEx journey. Why don't you briefly, this is time, we're keeping it under an hour, tell us about your experiences in Linehaul from the beginning.
Yeah. So it was around 2018. I partnered with you and Darius. Y'all had some runs down here, and they were a little problematic just from the geography. You guys had a lot of stuff going on.
Where's here?
Sorry, I'm in Georgia. So we had some runs in Florida and Georgia, and I took the opportunity to kind of work with you guys and partner with you to help manage some of these runs down here in Georgia. So we did those for, I don't know, maybe a couple of years or so. And when the opportunity came to sell them, we took it to focus on some other endeavors, some other opportunities too. And
let's be honest about those runs. They weren't successful. And we hung on them probably too long. And what was the reason? Like, in your opinion, why are those runs not successful?
There's a couple of reasons. So one of them, I'm kind of a sentimental guy. And when drivers were not performing, I held on to them for a little too long, making excuses for them. So that's one of the things for sure, hanging on to dud drivers. But Another thing is, at the time, these trucks just weren't moving. We had some unassigned runs, and at the climate where we were at the moment, trucks weren't moving. So we'd go 4 or 5 days with an unassigned run, and it would still just be sitting there. And I'd get a call from you and Darius specifically, and he'd be like, "Hey, is that truck moving?" Knowing that he's looking at the Omni tracks and the truck hasn't moved in 5 days. I'm like, "No, man, we can't get these trucks to move at all." So we moved them to a spot where they would make a lot more money. And, like you guys were saying, cutting your losses.
Wasn't that our second go around?
I think we had some overlapping go arounds with different sets of runs, but yeah.
All right.
So, and that happens, and I think what I've learned from that experience is if you're going to be buying unassigned runs, paying money for them, it's making sure those runs run smoothly. It's checking those settlement statements, and we do a lot of going back to see how they run. And with the understanding that, if things get slow, then those are the first runs that may not run very successfully. And so I think, luckily I think you financially did very well on that deal, John, if I, can speak for you.
Yeah.
And so it worked out. And so, it's a couple years later, and all of a sudden you decide to get back into FedEx. So what in the world are you buying now?
Yeah. Well, it started when we went to Vegas. We went to Vegas for the Route Consultants Conference.
Oh, yeah, you were there. You were there too.
Yeah. I kind of just wanted to.
I like Vegas. I like Vegas.
Man. Sorry, Darius. We missed you.
Yeah, you were missed. But we so I think you just wanted.
Speaking of Vegas, that's our second day. That's our meeting on the second day. It was very informative. We got to talk a lot about the industry and the important things related to Linehaul and other things.
Those are
Don't
all
hurt your eyes. Those are Linehaul contractors.
I thought that was a diversity meeting. Sorry.
So continue, John.
Yeah. So in Vegas, I think I was just invited along because I was looking kind of lonely when you were talking about it, and maybe you needed another person to talk FedEx to everybody else. But we ended up running into somebody. We kept seeing him in some of the sessions and finally started talking to him. So it just led into a good opportunity to get some dedicated team runs in Georgia. So that's what I'm into right now.
So you, and obviously we watched you through this process for the last month. You are, God, you would be running this week, but you're not because of the most random reason ever. Why are you not? Why are your trucks not running right now?
So there's the IRS. They're upgrading their system from, I want to say it was like December 20th to January, 12th. They're upgrading one of their systems. So the 2290s, the highway vehicle usage tax, you're no longer, there's a big blackout period where FedEx can't check their status. And this is all, what I'm led to believe from all the research we've done. But so we're just waiting on these. We're waiting for the IRS to open so FedEx can check the 2290s electronically. And, normally you can get your 2290 in 90 seconds, but not right now.
Yep. And just one of those random little, nuances that nobody could have expected. So you got, REL trucks, your big, beautiful Macs that are just sitting there and can't run. So hopefully this week, knock on everything, we get that moving.
Christian, you were talking about some title problems. I could have answered some title questions for you from today.
It's all right. Got it covered. John, though, you did it like you obviously did this before with Rick and Darius. Is there anything you do differently this time?
Yeah, be a lot more hands-on. Just obsess over everything. I remember when Rick started this almost 10 years ago, you couldn't have a conversation with him without him spacing off and thinking about something else for a few minutes. And he was obsessing with everything FedEx day and night, to get him, all to get him to this point, which is great. But what it shows is that you yourself, everybody that wants to get into this needs to do the same thing. You've got to have the onus on yourself instead of somebody else to learn everything about this.
Yeah. Lots of obsession. That's for sure. John, I think for the new contractors out there just getting started, like the last week, we had an exciting little turn of events, right?
Yeah.
So John calls me and he's like, "Oh yeah, hey, remember those runs we bought? Well, they're changing one. Walk me through that, like through your thought process and how they dropped that bomb on you."
Yeah, we had somebody pulled the fire alarm on us the other day. One of the terminal managers emailed me and said, "Hey, this team run that you've been obsessing over, and that you're making all these financial plans around and building a business around, we're going to change it to a dedicated solo instead."
Okay, so the first one they drop on you is like, okay, the first run that they changed basically had a team that was butt heading with a solo, and they wanted to reverse it. So now solo is butt heading with the team, and we have the solo. What was the first like mileage they proposed?
The original mileage that we had was maybe 5,000 or so for the week for that team. And what they dropped on us was something around like 360 or 380 a night. Something like that, right?
Yeah, like that's not a run you enjoy owning. 380, it's a good run, make money on the run, but to give up like that team run, that's rough.
Yeah.
So luckily spoke to a couple really cool people, had some conversations, and then today, what's the mileage on the new run or the new Butthead location they come up with?
It's like 608 or 615 for the night, something like that. Really
So
cool.
a monster solo run. And that's one of those things where, recruiting retention on that solo run is going to be a lot easier. So maybe giving up a couple dollars to gain some variety in that business, some flexibility. Hey guys, come do this team run for us for a couple months, and look at this dedicated run that we have, that the solo run. Hey, that'll be yours one day. We're doing more of that. So I certainly think that this is a win for the business. What'd you just crack open, bro?
Another
Easy, guys.
Also not sponsored, but looking forward to it.
Not sponsored.
Yeah, very true. Mission Ultralights.
Ricky, you might know this. Does that happen often? Like, does FedEx just change mileage on you?
So it's funny, right? No, it doesn't happen that often. We've experienced it. But hopefully Alan comes on tonight. He's also kind of a couple weeks ahead of John. He had the same thing happen to him, and it ended up working better for him as well, just because the needs changed for that particular run. So for both of them, before they actually close the business and finish the tractor files, they are, upgrading those runs to something better, more mileage, more money. And no, but I'd love to see it happen more often with my business. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and depending on who you're talking to and depending on where that terminal's at, someone might find that run way more desirable.
Oh, 100%. I completely agree.
When we were in Woodbridge, it was like, I remember people would talk shit to you like you got a team run? Oh, my run's dedicated AM. That was a huge deal. Dedicated AM. You got all that nighttime shit. I'm dedicated AM. Because AM at that time in Woodbridge was like mainline stuff, 600 mile one clip, butthead, 300 something miles there, 300 something miles back. 660 miles a day, Monday through Friday. Nighttime was like a lot of this herky jerky stuff, getting people where they want to get miles, even though it was dedicated. It might be dedicated 400 miles a night, but dedicated 660 miles during the day. And I just remember the shit people used to talk about, I'm dedicated AM.
Yeah, no, and I mean, that's not that. I mean, just certain places, it all depends on the hub. It's money tied in with consistency of the run, like how easy is this run to own? I see some people buying these businesses that they may look really good on paper, but I look at it and I'm like, well, shit, like that's really gonna be a really miserable business to own just based on the timing, based on where the runs goes, versus something that may make a little less money, but it runs, consistently and smoothly.
So when that happened, who did you go to? Like, who's your first contact? BDS or?
My first contact was Rick.
What do I do?
Yeah. But then we could have just rolled over and taken that run, and we would have never known any different. But having the relationship with the terminal manager, even right off the bat, I haven't even ran yet, but having the relationship with him, Rick and I called him up and we hashed it out, and he moved some things around.
And it was just, I think there was a reasonableness to it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I don't know who's on the other end of that run, but they're getting hooked up. Like they won the lottery. Like they had a, little solo run that turned into this nice, big, juicy, dedicated team run. And so I felt like it was an arbitrary place in where they put the that butthead location, and if we just moved it up a tiny bit, it would be a little more reasonable and would take the sting out of losing that run, and it worked out. So I think a reasonableness prevailed, and we had a great line haul manager to bounce that off of, and something happened. I don't know how that ended up working out, but the call today seemed to indicate that it went very successfully.
Oh, that happened today?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, you're busy having your executive lunches, South Jersey, taking political meetings. We're making big things happen.
Oh man, I'm good for you. Glad for you, John. Glad you got someone in your corner.
Still political. Change the subject.
As a new contractor, John, like it's been a while, right? But you've seen this happen, but now it's a lot more involved. Like you're a lot more involved financially, right? Like you've got a huge chunk of your family's cash flow tied up into this business now. What keeps you, what are you nervous about? What keeps you up at night when you're like, oh my God, this is all going to ruin me? What's it become? What's it because of?
Man, everything all at once. Literally everything all at once. I can't pick a thing, but the safety, these guys making a mistake, not preparing themselves for the runs appropriately. It's the car that sees the random car that sees dollar signs when they see a semi driving down the road and they stomp their brakes in front of it, and the dude just disappears, gets deleted.
Vaporized.
Yeah, man. It's losing the runs because they're not running because of points, and then everything that I bought just goes up in flames. None of this stuff is possible, but all of these things, it's my truck's going down because some random thing happens with 2023 Max, and they all have to go in the shop at the same time.
So what do you do to make yourself sane again?
Like 4 or 5 Tylenol PMs. No, just like everything, man. Prepare. You just have to prepare for everything. You hire extra dudes, so when somebody calls out, it doesn't affect you as much. You try to grab a spare truck to sit in the lot to have just empty equipment sitting there.
Hell no, you don't.
You got
that truck. If you're not going to run it, you call us. We'll run it for you. Don't you worry. Get a little temp number going. You
hammer the dudes for safety over and over and over again. And if you smell anything wrong with them about their safety, if they feel like they're brushing you off or a little something, you can find another dude that'll do the same thing, but be safe.
Yep.
What about y'all? Darius, Rick, what keeps y'all up at night? Same stuff?
Yes. Different, a little different. Ultimately, you want to be responsible, right? Like, your mind's always working. You always have decisions you have to make. And I personally get decision fatigue because it's like, if I do this, then this will happen. Or, what happens if I do this? So you try to eliminate, as much as you can. I mean, there's no secret. On our other business, we had a fatality, which is, one of the probably the worst things that we ever thought could have occurred. And that wasn't under the FedEx flag, and we came out on the other side of it pretty good. The laws were in order, the hiring practices were in order, the guy did everything right, the truck was in order, all the inspections cleared. So as much as I hate to say it, FedEx runs a really tight ship, and they gave us the blueprint and the training wheels, if you will, to kind of survive that. So in case you have a nuclear event, mows down 10 people, they're going to go back to all that stuff that you never thought was important. First advantage, vehicle reference, DQ files, random drug tests. Did you do all those things? And we can confidently say we did. So when this happened, we talked to Rick. Me and Rick spoke, and our internal safety guy who works for us. Rick said, "You know what? We just happened to be the vessel for that guy. He was going. The Lord was coming for him. We just happened to be his vessel." So that's it. Control what you can control, and don't obsess on the things that you can't. That's all I have to do.
Build a system, or have somebody, or pay somebody to build you a system, and stick to it, and be very anal in those early days about making sure that system is stuck to, so that if, God forbid, worst case scenario happens, you're protected. Your business is protected. Don't pierce the corporate veil. Everyone's got to start a corporation, right? Understand how money can move from point A to point B, but it can't move from, D to C because of, the I guess a lawyer being able to come after your personal assets if something does happen. So a lot of that stuff we didn't know. I mean, we had, Darius and I were two, cops. We decided to start this, hustle on the side, and we just learned all this as we went along. And unfortunately, we had some rough, we had an IRS issue those early years that almost destroyed us, but we climbed out of a lot of holes, and are certainly much more educated because of it. So preparation in this business goes a long, if not most of the way, combined with a tiny little bit of luck. So John, Darius, thank you guys very much. I know we will be seeing a lot more of both of you in the weeks to come. Peace.
Yep.
Kisses.
Good to see y'all.
Yep. So our final guests, I want to bring on Alan, who I just spoke about earlier. Alan and his partners, Karen and Stephanie, are just getting started. I thought he'd be a phenomenal person to bring on, kind of talk to about getting running. And hell yeah,
family either, right? So
you are now. After everything we've been through. So Alan, what up, man? How's life?
Oh, it's been an interesting couple of days. So, on top of breakdown with my brakes last night, I was on the phone with you quite a bit about it.
How did that end up?
Well, it hasn't ended yet. So we got FleetNet out there, and they fixed it.
Okay. What was it? Was it the brake chamber?
I honestly, I don't know. I haven't got the report from them yet. But they, according to my driver, the brakes were shot. What she said that the mechanic said. So
on your new truck.
It's not brand new. It's the one behind me here.
They still go through
Freightliner
service, especially when you buy it from a dealership.
Yep, you would think.
Okay.
So, but it gets better, right? She was able to take it on a shuttle last night, which is good. She got some miles.
Okay.
And the mobile mechanic came by today and was looking at it, and they found I forget what they called it. It was a valve on the airline going into the backside of the cab that had a malfunction. So they repaired that. When they repaired that, they found the brake chambers on 2 of the axles on the passenger side were leaking. So they were able to repair one of those, but they ran out of time today. So it's still out of order right now. And it'll be fixed tomorrow.
FedEx trucking.
Yes.
Welcome to trucking.
Yeah, exactly.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
as of all the days, I'm very interested, right? So we've known each other since what? May, June? We probably first.
Somewhere around there, yeah. I called you from the Whataburger line getting breakfast one morning.
On Denver. On that Denver business.
Yeah.
What why FedEx Linehaul? Like how did you figure out that was where you wanted to put your time?
There's a couple of things. I've done several, what they call side hustles to make money. I've had a decent career. I've been in project management for IT for 28 years now. But never something to make me money, always something to make other people money. I ran across a guy when I bought an excursion from him a couple of years ago. It was 2020. It was like February 2020. I was coming back through Utah, and I'd gotten off to go somewhere, and I saw the excursion, and I just sold my old one. And so I ended up buying it from him, long story short. And he had a really nice spread. He had nice trucks. I'm like, what? Oh, and he had every single record of every maintenance or repair on that truck. And it was a 2003, I think it is. And I'm like, what do you do for a living? And he said, I run all the trailers that are FedEx. I run them from Vegas up to Salt Lake City. I'm like, really? He said, yeah. So the people that pull those trailers aren't FedEx employees. They're owners of these trucks. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And then fast forward to the end of 2021, a friend of mine that I worked with at USAA quit. He resigned and reached out to me a couple of months later, and we went to lunch, and I asked him, where'd you go? What are you doing now? And he said, actually, I run a trucking business. I'm like, really? He goes, well, I'm a FedEx contractor. I said, I've heard of that before. And so I started looking into it. That was probably March of last year. And I just started digging into it really heavy. And I talked to all the people on the Biz Buy Sell or whatever it is.
BizQuest, Biz Buy Sell, yep.
Yeah, Mark, there was a guy up there in the Northeast, Mark somebody or other. I talked to him. He was a shark, but that's just my own opinion. he was a fast talker, but I just kept getting more and more information on it. And so I got to a point where I was ready to pull the trigger. I just didn't have enough personal money that I had, that I could just throw into it. And thank God, because I'd be nuts right now if I didn't have a partner. So my wife, Stephanie, and I reached out to a longtime friend of ours, and Karen, and we talked to her about it. And she's like, well, yeah, I don't know. It sounds too good to be true. So I was able to talk her into coming down to Dallas. She lives up in Ohio. I was able to get her to come to Dallas for the Linehaul Summit last, end of July. And
yes.
For her, that's what solidified everything for sure. But for me, it stopped becoming this pie in the sky thing like so many other things I had experienced in the past, and it became something that was real. It was real people. It wasn't people that were just truckers. It was all different kinds of people, and I knew that I could do it too. And so that was it.
It was the Mexican food.
Definitely. No, kidding me?
What?
Texas has horrible Mexican food.
Food that night was great.
The food that night was great.
Or was the tequila?
I don't do tequila, man. Makes me
spicy
sick.
margarita, spicy tequila, whatever. Those were good.
Whiskey, I'll do.
Can I ask what convinced you to go with and do it with Rick? Just out of curiosity.
You know what? I didn't feel like this is a PG. I didn't feel like he was trying to blow smoke up where it didn't belong.
It's very PG of you.
So, yes. I had talked to several guys, probably 3 or 4 guys.
Right.
And they all, to me, it felt like they were playing a part. Some of them were gruff, the trucker kind, and they were just gruff. Some of them were like, oh yeah, I'll help you. I'll hold your hand the whole way through. And feel that way with Rick. Matter of fact, I kind of didn't believe his post about the runs in Denver, because it just didn't make sense why anybody would want to sell it for less than one times, I think it was, when that one was posted. Everybody else is doing it for 5 times, right?
That deal needs its whole show. I'm going to do a whole hour on that particular deal and going through that, because that was rough.
I called him. I'm like, so what's the catch, right? This can't possibly be true. What are you really selling? And he's like, no, really, that's what I'm selling. And so we talked back and forth for a while, and I needed to get to know him a little bit better. I needed to talk to him a few times, and at first, Rick can come off a little salesy, but but when you get past that, and you know what, honestly, let me be like totally transparent here. And I'm sorry if this was your cover, Rick. I apologize. We were at the Linehaul Summit, and he just happened to be at the hotel we were in, because we didn't go to the hotel where the event was or close to it. We were like a mile away or something, right? And he just happened to be there talking to 2 other guys one morning. I'm like, hey. And so we ended up giving him a ride back to the show that morning or whatever it was. And we started talking about things that had nothing to do with FedEx. And that got us into a really deep discussion on faith. And that's just something that's why I wake up in the morning, right? This FedEx stuff is great and it makes money and I love it. It's challenging. My wife was about to pull her hair out when the truck broke down last night. She's like, oh, this stuff has to happen all at once. I said, this is what makes it great, right? So
Alan, welcome calluses.
Yeah.
Well, if it wasn't hard, everybody would do it. And if
good point. So, all right. So you've been running. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so to answer that last question, I got into a real, honest, sincere conversation with Rick about things that mattered, not money, not FedEx, not, sports, it was a sincere heart-to-heart discussion. And we were both able to be very transparent and forthcoming, even though we didn't necessarily align 100%. We were both willing to hear each other out and want to know more about the other person's perspective. And I have a great deal of respect for that. So I knew at that point, whatever concern I had about all these FedEx guys that are selling runs, I didn't have that with Rick anymore.
Fair. I like that.
It was real. So what's your next question?
I was good. All right. So you've been running pretty recently. You got a breakdown. Are you still excited about it?
Am I still? Oh, yeah. Oh, hell yeah. I'm also scared to death, right? Because let me tell you why.
Yeah, but you like that.
So, yeah, I do. It's funny. Gosh, are you sure we only have a couple minutes left? But I can go on an hour. So we started with a really good deal on 2 solo PM runs out of Marietta, right? One going down to Tifton, Georgia, the other going across the border to Tuskegee, right? Nothing's going to break my bank open, right? But the price was right. It got us in the door. And as far as I was concerned, if I can get my foot in the door, something to stop that door from slamming on me, I can blow it wide open. I'm not worried about it. And everybody just, yeah, you're so funny. Well, whatever. So we got 3 trucks, right? Took forever to get the trucks and get them approved.
God, yeah.
And I'll tell you that the trick for us, and I don't think we got it right, so I'm hoping to get it right this next time, is getting the trucks approved and the drivers approved and everybody lined up at the same time, right? So that as the drivers are sliding into home, the trucks are there to catch them and take them back to first base again, right?
Oh, so, I love that analogy. Yeah.
Oh my God, it was awful, but it was great. I mean, it was like such moving 1,000 parts just to get everything. Anyway, so we got our drivers approved, and our trucks are supposed to be approved within 48 hours. It took a week, literally 7 days. And the day that we got both trucks approved to run the assigned runs, both of my drivers quit that morning because they found other jobs. They'd been waiting a week and weren't getting paid, right? Yeah, and I had no money to pay them because I wasn't getting paid either. Yep. So that was like a oh shoot moment. Sorry guys.
You're already been through it, damn.
Oh yeah.
All right,
So-
Alan, we're bumping up against time.
Yes,
We'll
sorry.
talk again. The next time you come on, I want you to tell me about how a guy with 2 dedicated solo PM runs calls me one day and is like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I have 4 unassigned team runs that I'm going to be starting in the next couple weeks."
Bye.
On next week's episode.
Bye.
Oh my god, I'm calling you. Yeah, we'll talk. Oh god.
Bye. So yeah, that was my blowing the door wide open. Right.
If there's any group of people that can accomplish it, it's certainly your crew.
I wish I
So
believed you as much as you believe it.
we'll talk.
We will.
It's hiring. There's lots of people that will help you in this process and make this smooth. And we're gonna have to talk to some vendors, especially when it comes to recruiting. So, all right, everybody. Alan, first off, thank you so much.
Yeah.
This journey, watching you in this journey, has been extremely fun. To Darius and John, thank you, and to everyone else. I've gotten a lot of text. I think there were some technical issues with the show, switching the times. We'll figure all that out, but I think tonight went reasonably smooth. What do you think, Christian?
I think it was awesome. This is what this space needs, man. This is great.
Yep, for sure. A very, very special thanks to my social media, vice president. He just got promoted. Vin, this went perfect or much better than we expected. Thank you very, very much. Great job.
Vin. Nice work.
Good deal.
Everybody, thank you for joining us at Around the Hub. This is only week 1. Week 2 will be next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And we will be sending out a lot of information ahead of time with next week. This is exciting, and this is just week 1. So please join us again. Thank you guys very much.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
See y'all. See you, Alan. This is Around the Hub.
Yeah, Vin, you can cut us now because now it's just getting super awkward.
Play it out.
Oh, yes.